Welcome to Deer IQ, here to help you hunt smarter, elevate your approach, and consistently tag exceptional whitetail. Whether you're just starting out or a longtime hunter targeting mature bucks, this is your edge. We bring you proven tactics, expert insights, and unfiltered conversations with high-level hunters who just get it done. Guiding you through it all is veteran hunter and strategist Adam Lewis, helping you spot what others miss, fine-tune your focus, and unlock your full hunting potential. So let's raise your deer IQ. Here's your host, Adam Lewis.
All right, here we are in our series on mobile hunting, the details that make a difference. And this is the second episode. The first one was also with our guest, Jared Shaffer, who's back today. If you missed that one, go back and listen to that. It is on the mental side of it, how you got to think about mobile hunting. And this would be for saddle hunting. This would be for lock-on stands. This would be really for any style of mobile hunting, the mental aspect inside of that. That's our last episode. In this episode, I'm with Jared, and we're going to really dive into his dialed-in setup. It might be better to watch the video of this if you're listening, because he's going to show us step-by-step his exact setup, what he does that makes a difference for him. And so if you really want to dig into that, whether you're new to this or you've done it for a while, he's going to share some things from his experience. He also works at Tethered, so he tests a lot of stuff. He's going to share some real specific details, step by step, every part of his system that make the difference for him and take it from good to great. You know, when we do mobile hunting, a lot of times we're in close with the deer, and it's the little things that can make or break you. So there's a ton of stuff in here to check out and see as we go through this, and Jared goes through his ultra dialed in setup. Now, before we get to that, a couple of things to check out for this season. First is the Season 3 quiz, and that covers the whole season and a lot of our guests who actually bring a question for you. And you can take that ahead of time. It's at our website and link below. It's just a really cool interactive piece. They're going to bring a question and also answer it in the episode. So you can take that ahead of time, and then you have to listen to get the answers as we go through the season. The second thing is the DRIQ Test 360, and that is something that if you really want to dial in your whole approach, so today's about the mobile hunting, dialing that in, but the whole overarching thing of your approach, really dialing that in, that is for you, the DRIQ Test 360. It's kind of like if you want a diagnostic to really show you where you're off and where you're, struggling, that is something that really shows you exactly where to work, exactly what you need to fix, and how to improve. For this episode, we get into ultra dialed in mobile hunting setups, and this is specific to his saddle setup. And pay attention. I'm not going to list a bunch of questions for this episode to pay attention to. It's really paying attention to every little aspect of it and the details and what can really help you go from good to great in your setup. So, Jared, welcome back. Let's talk about your setup. So you work with Tethered, and you've been doing this. You said since when? 20? How long have you been mobile hunting?
With a saddle, about 11 years now. So it'll be my 11th season with a saddle. Yep.
You've worked for Tethered for about 6 years.
About 6 years.
So you are in contact with a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
And you've used it for a while, right? It's not like you started last year and you've dialed stuff in, right?
Yeah. I definitely get the chance to play with some cool stuff, and I'm constantly, I tinker with gear still, but not to the level that I used to. I kind of figured out what works for me and kind of my core setup, and that doesn't change a whole lot. So we'll get into that and the details of it.
Yeah, but, this is coming from a guy who does this for a job, and also well before that was using, mobile hunting setups and figuring out his system. And I think that's super important, is figuring out what system works for you and really, really fine-tuning that, right? And so Jared's going to share about his. Yours might be different, but I think the important part is getting it really fine-tuned, right?
Yeah. Yep.
So let's start there, Jared. What exact gear do you use for mobile hunting, and why? And what's like, I guess, the advantage for each piece, and why did you choose those pieces for those reasons?
Yeah, so I can't get into my mobile hunting setup without first talking about, and we won't have to get into it super detailed, but is the way I have my truck set up for the hunts that I do.
Oh, let's
So
do that. No, let's get detailed, man. Yeah.
yeah, so my truck and the way I have it set up, it's not a new thing to sleep in the back of your truck. A lot of guys do that, but a few years ago, I decided like I want to be more mobile. I want to be able to pick a spot on the map, drive there, have everything I need to live basically. So I've got my truck set up. I've got a topper on it. I've got the deck system. So all of my gear is in there, is organized. I've got everything I need. I can go hop in my truck right now, drive 5-6 hours to public land. I know I've got food, I've got water, I've got all the gear I need to be safe. And if I roll into a spot and there's more pressure than I anticipated, I can hop in the truck, I can drive somewhere else, and my setup is it's always it's pretty much stays ready, whether I'm scouting, shed hunting, turkey hunting. That way, I don't have to worry so much about, do I have this, do I have that, and then it's just a lot more efficient to have
Always in
everything
there.
ready
Yeah.
to go. Yep. So that's definitely a big part of my setup. We don't have to get into super specifics there. Anybody you can set up pretty much any vehicle to do that, but it's worked really well for me, just being able to have it all, and I can just roll out at a moment's notice and have everything I need. So
Well, I actually want to get into that a little bit if you're okay with
Okay.
that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I have a topper on my truck, right, and I've slept in
Okay.
there before and all that. I have a deck system too.
Okay.
So you actually sleep in there. You don't put a tent out or
Mm-hmm.
anything. You just sleep right in the.
Typically, I'm sleeping in the truck. I do have another little tent that I'll use as a gear tent.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen the Gazelle pop-up tents. I've got one of those, and I'll use that more in colder weather. So, like last year, I went on a rifle hunt on public land in West Virginia. I found just an old logging, basically landing pad, I guess, where they were taking the logs out that was kind of growed up. So
Yep.
parked the truck there, popped that little tent out. I could put my table set up in there. I can cook, run my buddy heater, just kind of a place to hang out, in the off time. So,
Right.
but for the most part, it's just my truck. And, on top of the deck system, I've got a mattress that goes on there. I've got 3 different quilts for different temperature ranges. I've got my backpacking stove. I've got a whole bin full of backpacking meals. So really all I know that I need when I take off is, as long as I've got water, I've got a way to make food. So
You don't have like a stash of Little Debbie's in there. You have actual.
I'm sure there's some in there at some point during the season.
Probably not the best nutrition to survive through hunting season, despite how many posts and memes are about Little Debbie's in hunting season. Yeah, some good pre-done. So do you do the like dehydrated
Yeah.
meals
yeah,
and stuff?
typically. Yep.
Yeah, I think that's important. I'm glad you brought that up, because how your truck is set up, even for just a single hunt, is important, right? If you're fumbling around in your truck trying to get ready to hunt because you are disorganized, that really cuts into hunting time. If you'll find yourself getting to where you want to hunt the tree or your tree stand or whatever and forgetting things, and
Forgot something.
you just got to be organized, right, for a hunt.
100%.
And then that's great. That's a great idea. Just the whole truck, so you can hunt anywhere you want to, right? Anytime. All right, so that's a great place to start. If you haven't done that with your vehicle, I highly suggest doing that.
100%.
All right, now let's get into your gear, the actual
Okay.
hunting gear.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I've got a saddle here. This is the carnivore offering that we're getting ready to come out with. It's pretty sweet the way it's set up. I won't get into the nitty gritty on all the features and all that, because most people probably aren't going to care. But I ran this saddle last year. This is not the exact saddle that I had set up. This one doesn't have pockets, but I've got a pocket on each hip, and I pack everything in those pockets in the order that I'm going to use them. So like on my right hip, the pocket over here, the first thing I'm going to need when I get up the tree is my hiss strap, and that's what I use to hang my gear on the tree. So I've got my, I've got my tether rope on top of that. So when I get up the tree, that's the first thing that's going to come out of that pocket. So I try to pack everything in the saddle to where I'm not fumbling through other gear to get to it. So kind of think that through in your mind, the process that you use. And I pack my pack the same exact way, and we'll get into that. But there's not anything special here. I just use, this is like I said, the Carnivore from Tethered. Got 2 pockets, 1 on each hip. I put my lineman's rope on the left because I like to pass the rope around the tree with my left hand so I can grab it with my right hand, and then as well as adjust the tension with my right hand, since that's my dominant hand. So that's just the kind of the natural way to set that up. From there, so we come out with this rad system last year. So it's like this little button that has a socket and ball on it. And I will put one of those on my right hip, kind of up toward the front of the saddle. And I'll show you on my sticks here. I'll pull them up. I've actually got my backpack set up so we can kind of go through what I'm using here. But I was talking about that rad button set up. And I've actually got one on my sticks right here. So when I get to the tree, I've got my pack set up with my sticks on the outside right here. So pop these 2 buckles, my sticks come off, and then I can use that little rad button set up to clip it onto my saddle. That way I don't have to fumble with anything. I know it's super secure and it doesn't make any noise. So, but as you can see, like I said, I've got it kind of packed in order. I'm just using 2 compression straps on here. This is our fast pack, by the way, so it's got the big pockets on the outside. But I'll pull my sticks off here so I can show you, because this is a pretty slick setup the way I've got these set up. So I'm just using 3 of the Tethered One sticks. They're all stealth stripped and everything, so they're nice and quiet. But so I run aiders on here. I've got a 3-step on the bottom, and then I've got 2-step aiders on the next 2. So when I get to the tree, all the aiders are bundled up and they're on the bottom right here. They're nice and tight. They're not flopping around, and they're all held in place with this one bungee cord that goes around this button right here. So you'll notice I'll even put the that little tab kind of off to the side so I'm not fumbling around with it in the dark. Because if I would happen to put it up here in the middle, it makes it a little bit harder to grab a hold of. So I'll actually kind of pre-position that. So when I get to the tree, pop that off, my aiders fall down and they're nice and neat. They're not tangled up. I'll pop this bottom stick off. So this is my first stick right here. So it's got the 3-step aider on it. I'll put it on the tree, while I'm at the base of the tree. And then I've only got 2 sticks after that. And then with that rad button set up, which you can see it a little better right there, I will connect that to my saddle. And then when I start climbing, they're nice and secure. They're not going anywhere, and they're not going to make any noise. So that's the stick
for those listening, only listening, he's got his sticks all kind of nested together, and the aiders are what are those aiders made out of? Are those AmSteel or are those something else?
Yep, these are AmSteel, made by my buddy Matt Katoya at Vital Ground Outdoors.
Gotcha.
They weigh absolutely nothing, and they're awesome.
Yeah, and they allow an extra couple steps. You said the one's a 3-step one?
Yeah, the bottom one's a 3-step, and that gets me about 7.5 feet out of my first stick. So
yeah, so you're basically putting that first one as high as you can on the tree, for as high as you can reach. Yep. And you got your kind of rope ladder of sorts, is what an aider is basically. Rope ladder gets you up to that, and then you're putting another one up that has a 2-step aider on it. How high can you get with it? I mean, that's a very good setup, because if you go with 4 sticks, I've found you've got to go up and down twice to get them. If you can go with, or it's harder, right? But
it is harder.
If you have 3, it's much easier to get up at one time, and you're up to hunting height.
Yeah, so with the 3-stick setup, I'm only carrying the 2 up with me. And if I can stretch, I'm 5'11", but I can stretch pretty good on my step length. If I really stretch it, I could get 23, 24 feet out of the setup. But if I'm just climbing at a comfortable distance, about 20 feet is about what I get. And that's setting my platform level with the top of my stick. That way I can kind of use it as an extra step.
Yeah.
But and in the early season, a lot of times I only carry 2 sticks, with the canopy cover and leaf cover, you don't need to get super high. So a lot of times I'll hunt in that 12 to 14 foot range, and that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's a really good setup, and the height is really going to depend on the situation and the tree and all that stuff. Like you said, the cover and that tree, all that. But 20 feet is a kind of for me, that's kind of the sweet spot, I guess. Yeah. You're up pretty good distance, but not so high that your shot angles are getting crazy.
Right. Yep.
Okay. So that gets you up the tree. I'm guessing you said you got a platform you're using, and you utilize the step. This is another fine point, guys. You can try to stretch a little more above that last step, or you can offset the step with the platform so you can move around the tree more, basically, is what you're saying, right?
Yep. So I like to put that extra step kind of on my strong side. That way, if I get a deer that comes to my weak side, say like my 2 o'clock position. So if I'm in the saddle facing the tree, that's my 12 o'clock, 6 is straight behind me. So if I get a deer in like that 2, 3 o'clock position that's kind of coming at an angle toward the tree, I can step over onto that extra stick and kind of maneuver around so I can shoot to that position, and it kind of keeps the tree in between me and the deer.
You right-handed?
Right-handed, yep.
Yeah. So you're moving around to get to him before he gets way over here, and you have to turn backward basically to or go up and over the tree, and it's all awkward. Yeah
And it totally depends on the situation. It still seems like it with that Indiana buck I was talking about earlier, he had me all twisted up because he came in from behind me and he was coming like straight at my tree. So I ended up I went over the bridge to shoot him. I thought he was going to be on my weak side. And then he ended up going back to my strong side, so I had to go back over the bridge, and it was a whole ordeal, but I made it work.
Gotcha.
But, all right, so after the sticks, so I've got, this is a Predator V XL. We released these last year. This is what I used all last season. It's pretty much bone stock, other than a couple little pieces of stealth tape or stealth strip in places so it doesn't clang around and make noise. But I'm running it's basically an AmSteel daisy chain. It's a VersaLink. So if you guys listening don't know what that is, it's basically just spliced AmSteel that has loops in it. It's got loops about every 1.5 inches there. So that just it's super lightweight, doesn't weigh anything, and there's no buckle on it to make any noise. So I run that around the tree. Typically I'll run it around the tree twice. And it just makes for a really solid setup if the tree's small enough. But I just find with this, I can get it to work on pretty much any tree, and it's super, super lightweight.
Think you're ready for deer season? Take the Deer IQ Test 360 and find out. It pinpoints blind spots and weaknesses in your strategy so you can fix what's holding you back and focus your effort on exactly what gets results. It's quick, insightful, and delivers personalized suggestions based on your unique hunter profile. If you want to consistently tag better whitetail, the Deer IQ Test 360 is where to start. Take it now, link below or at deeriq.com.
Hey, Adam here. If you're new to the podcast or have watched or listened for a while now, I invite you to take the next step and join the community of high IQ hunters or those wanting to be. There's lots of ways to do this, including following us on Instagram. We're pretty active there. Joining our weekly newsletter full of high IQ deer hunting tips and tactics, and also services we offer to help hunters reach their full potential. The easiest way to start is this: follow, like, and subscribe, and rate and review if you're listening to the audio version. That's it. And it really helps the channel grow and is greatly appreciated. Check all the ways to connect in the show notes below, and while you're at it, share this episode with a buddy you think will like it. So that I will run, and it depends on the system you use for mobile hunting and the different climbing methods. There are different ones, right? But a lot of people use the sticks. A lot of people use a platform. So let's just assume that if you're talking saddle, and obviously there's tree stands you can use too, right? But I use AmSteel daisy chain for my sticks, right? And it's not perfect because you can't really snug it in, right? Sometimes you have a little sag to it, but I've never really had an issue with it. And I also moved from the buckle to AmSteel on the platform because, and I've used I think a Suavage hitch or something up there.
Yep.
And so you can go around once, go around the loop, go back around if it's not a huge tree, and you hook that in and tighten it. And then any gap in that rope or any little bit of play, you just cam it down, right? So you can just lift it and push it down. You can get that super locked in and tight where you don't need that buckle. And, as you said, the benefit of that is you're not worried about clanging that. You're eliminating metal, and that's also weight you're eliminating, right?
Yeah.
So those are things you can do. There's a lot of stuff out there with AmSteel and things like that you can do to really dial in your setups, right?
Yeah, and a lot of people don't realize that a cam buckle on a strap weighs about 1/4 pound. So if you have 4 sticks with a cam buckle on it, that's a pound of weight right there that you can eliminate with AmSteel. So it's for saddle hunting and mobile hunting, AmSteel is like the best thing that ever been invented.
And if you don't know about AmSteel, it depending on the thickness, it is extremely strong, right? You could certain thicknesses, you could just pick up a car with it, right?
Oh, 100%,
I mean, it's probably stronger than the straps.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but from there, so I've climbed the tree with my 3 sticks and aiders, set the platform, and then I've got my backpack here, and this is the pack that I've been using for like the last 2 or 3 years. It's pretty beat up, but so I will hang this on the right side of the tree since I'm right-handed and my bow hangs on the left-hand side. So the next thing in the sequence of things as I'm setting up in the tree would be my camera setup, my self-filming gear. So I pack everything in my pack on the left side of the pack because as this is hanging in the tree, the left side pockets are closest to me. So in this outside pocket right here, I've actually got my camera arm base. So this is a 4th Arrow satellite base. So it lives in that outermost pocket because that's like the first thing I put on once I'm up in the tree. So I put that on the tree, and then here's another thing I'll point out too. I will pre-position all of my zipper pulls on my pack to that left side. That way I'm not reaching around trying to find the zipper pull on the other side in the dark, so even on my top pocket here, I've got all of my zipper pulls on this side of the pack. That way when I hang the pack, it's all right there and I know exactly where it's at. So
Jared, that's what we call high IQ here. That's
a little pro tip for you.
That's the detail. No, that's the details that you just, everything just set up. That's a great example. All right, keep going. Sorry.
All right, so from there, it might be kind of hard to see, but I get inside the pack and then I pull out my camera arm base and it's right there in easy reach. So that's the next thing that kind of goes on. And then on the inside of the pack, I've got my camera case and I've got my DSLR in there. So I pull it out. And once my camera gear is set up, there's really nothing else in my pack. I don't really carry anything extra. I don't carry gear for like those what if scenarios. So if I think through my hunt and think, I'm not really going to need that, I don't take it. So I don't really carry a whole lot besides the camera gear. And I have 2 headlamps. I don't have them in the pack right now, but I always like to have a spare. Sometimes I'll carry 3 because I've had them die on me, when you're super deep on public. So usually 3 headlamps, and then I've got my kill kit and my knife kind of stashed away in the bottom. Oh, here's another thing that I'll point out that I almost forgot about, and it's a really important part of my setup, is in this pocket on this side of the pack, again on the left-hand side of the pack, on the bottom, you'll see a carabiner here, and that is my Doyle's gear hoist that is inside of this pocket. So that lives right there. So when I get to the tree, I'm not fumbling around with paracord or anything like that to pull my bow up. I simply reach over with my left hand, I clip that to my bow, and then I take off climbing. And it never gets tangled up. I never have to worry about it. When I pull the bow up, I unclip it. It's spools itself right back up in there. And it's just one less thing that I have to get mad about getting tangled up.
Yeah, so that's inside the pocket. Did you cut a hole to
Yep.
get that out or something, or
No, it's
there's just a little?
show you. So it's down in this kind of side pocket right here, and then
Gotcha.
there's a grommet. There's a grommet that comes out that bottom pocket right there, and that's actually what it's for, is for a pull-up rope. But
Oh, perfect.
yeah, that lives right there, and it just makes my life a lot easier.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about how you got your bow up there.
Yeah.
And one thing I'll throw in there, not saying you're doing it wrong in any way, but one thing I moved to a few years ago away from the carabiner clips, because I would get to where if I didn't do it right or I fumbled something, it makes a clicking noise, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Because that spring in there, or if I can't totally wrap that, it might clang something. So I went to
Yep.
those. They're basically like huge twist ties. They're totally
Yep.
rubber twist tie things,
Yep.
and I do that with my bow, and it works good. So something else, you can try. People out there, you can try to silent. It works, right? But
Yep.
yeah, that's again the detail of a setup, right? So that gets you up, it gets you down, and when you're going back down, you're doing everything in reverse order, right?
Yeah. So like I've messed with rappelling and all that, and I found that for me, like it's just easier for me to climb down. You might beat me rappelling to hit the ground, but as far as getting the rope out of the tree, and when I tried it, every time I'd pull the rope down, it would come down the tree and get tangled in a mess of brush or in water
Gotcha.
or whatever. So I just found for me, just climbing down, and I pack the sticks up as I go. So just reverse order. I pull the first one off. I use that rad button that I showed you, clip it onto my hip, and then the next stick, I stack it right back on with the pins. That way when I hit the ground, my sticks are packed up pretty much ready to go. So when I hit the ground, literally all I have to do is stack it back up on top of my backpack, clip the 2 buckles, and I'm off walking. It takes me maybe 2 minutes. It's super quick.
Now let me ask you this, with your platform, where is that located as you're climbing to put that on?
So I actually just leave it on. Most of the time, I will just leave it on the pack, and then
Okay.
I'll just sling the pack off and take it off. Now this platform does have a clip on the back. Yeah, right there, you can see it. So typically, I'll forget that this platform has that clip because it's a kind of a new feature that came out on this platform. So I will sometimes hang it like that on my left hip, kind of out of the way. But I found that, as I'm kind of flipping my lineman's rope up the tree, that you might make noise with it. And I don't want to bump it off and have that thing fall on me. So
Yeah.
I'll typically just leave it kind of strapped to my pack, and I'll sling it off and take it off that way.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's an option I've used where I've hooked it right in the middle on the back, and then I have 2 sticks on the sides. But you have to be careful with that those don't clang each other too.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, there's different options there to check out. What has changed? So you've been doing this quite a while, right? As you first started to now, what has changed over those years? And as you look back, do you say, like, I can't believe I used to do that? Or
Well, the first year that I saddle hunted, I one sticked, and if guys listening aren't familiar with one sticking, you use one stick and then you just move it up the tree and you climb it, and then most guys rappel down. But so I did that the very first year, and it kind of opened up my whole world of mobile hunting. Be like, wow, I can go in anywhere and hunt, as high as I want with this one stick. But it's noisy. It's a lot more movement, and I didn't really like that. So I went from that, and I tried multiple sticks, but the sticks, 10 years ago were not the sticks that we've got now. They're just not even comparable. So carrying a lot of weight there. I went to climbing spikes, like the lineman spikes. I used those for quite a few years, and that's a really good way to go, but it's dangerous. You got to really watch what you're doing, and it's not legal everywhere. Some places on public you can't penetrate the bark of the tree. So.
Yeah, you're digging into the tree when you do that. Yeah.
Right. So I've kind of, got away from that. I did do it for several years and was pretty effective at it. But then, when Tethered come out with the one sticks, that's what I've been using since 2020. So this will be my 5th season using the one sticks. So I've just found that they work perfect for me with the aiders on them, and I just keep it simple.
And that's you could use that as a one stick option, but
Yep.
it's just like a really light stick, right? And you obviously can still stack them and use multiple ones, right?
And as far as my saddle setup goes, back 10 years ago, tethered really wasn't a thing. There was a few saddles out there. Arrow Hunter was one of them. I used a couple of those. A lot of homemade stuff that I probably shouldn't have been up in a tree with, honestly. But man, 10 years ago, the gear was a lot different than it is now. I mean, guys that are getting into mobile hunting now, you're 100% spoiled with the gear that's out there. It's just, everybody makes really good stuff. So there's just a lot of options out there for really good gear.
For sure, yeah. If someone's, thinking about getting into saddle hunting or maybe struggling to get their systems. So a lot of this I would call systems, like you get a system for getting up the tree, you get a system for, hanging from the tree. It's a mobile hunting system, right? For guys maybe struggling with that or just getting into it, what's like a last bit of advice you could give them to like, hey, focus on this, or, this is going to get you the best results? What advice would you give them, I guess?
So, I mean, if you're just getting into saddle hunting in particular, but even just mobile hunting, man, reach out on social media and try to find somebody local to you that's been doing it for a little bit, because just meeting up with them and spending an hour, you're going to learn so much. I mean, I've had guys drive down and meet me here at my house, and I've run them through and just kind of show them how I do things. And it just cuts the learning curve way down. So, and there's lots of shows now, like the Mobile Hunter Expo, that they travel around, and you can literally go to one of those shows and try out pretty much every saddle manufacturer, tree stand manufacturer in the mobile game at least, and just try out everything and see what works for you, because it might not be tethered, it might not be something else. I really encourage guys, and even when we're out doing trade shows and guys stop in the booth and I run them through stuff, I tell them, go try everything else. Try all the other manufacturers, because ours might not fit you as good as theirs fits you. So it's like, as long as you're getting a setup that you're comfortable with, I don't care who makes it, you know what I mean? So, reach out on social media. There's a lot of content now on YouTube and all that explains stuff that so much better than when I first started. So there's a lot of resources out there now that really help.
Yeah, good advice. And as much as hopefully this podcast has been helpful, you're seeing a little bit, if you're listening, it's kind of tough. I realize that for an episode like this, it's kind of tough to, visualize what's being said, but as good as this can be, just actually doing it or seeing someone do it is just super helpful. So that's a great tip. Well, Jared, thanks for sharing all that. That actually was really helpful.
Awesome.
And they can check out all the tethered stuff at tethered.com, right?
Yeah. So we're on YouTube, Tethered Nation, and tons of videos on there. So,
and if they want to reach out to you, where can they find you?
Yeah, so I'm Jared Shaffer on Facebook and Ginger Ninja Jared on Instagram. So shoot me a message and I'll be glad to help you out.
Okay, so here are your high IQ takeaways and challenges. Here's my challenge for you. I want you to go through the practice of visualizing your dialed in setup. And that is a practice where you just go through the mental checklist of everything and in order of what you do, where you place it, and how you have it set up. It's a really good mental practice to do before you actually do a dry run or actually go hunting, is to just walk through mentally everything, every part of your gear, what's where and how you have it set up as you are at your truck, as you go to your tree, as you climb up, and as you get down, and the order and how exactly you do that. That'll start pointing out some things that maybe you need to work on, or maybe you haven't even thought about yet as to how you're going to do it or how you're going to pack it. So do a visualization checklist or process of your mobile setup. And if you really want to dial in your whole approach, again, check out the DRIQ Test 360, now available. That's linked below. And I want to hear from you. Would an episode about a checklist, the fine details, and actually spelling out a checklist to go through for your mobile hunting system be of benefit? If it is, put it in the comments below. That might be the next episode, just a real detailed run through and checklist that you can use to help prepare for this season. And check back next time as we continue our series on the mobile hunting details that make a difference, and I'll see you then.